Time is now. It's back to the rhymes. It's like, wow, he's back to the rhymes. I'm in the booth straight dropping dimes. Clark Kent, Daily Plant, the Metropolis Times. I write these raps while I'm under the gun. I see you back to get you some. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Pure, raw, uncut rap. Back to the rhymes. Now's the time. Time to unwind because back to the rhymes. Back to the rhymes. Now's the time. Time to unwind because back to the rhymes. I swear it went back like 3 seconds while I was recording. Wow. All right. Let's knock this out. Just didn't quite get started at 11 p.m. Very close, though. Number one on the list, School Us album sales. So none this week. Number two, I don't like sunsets much. If I could walk away. Started to try to have a conversation at church because I got someone that comes around and talks to me about different stuff. He can play a little guitar, but the conversation couldn't go anywhere. I'm just sitting there, people are coming around. I'm just sitting there seeing what's happening. What can I talk about? What can I check my fantasy baseball scores? Can I talk to people about music, whatever? Everyone's trying to do different things, so we haven't lined that up yet, but I'm asking people about this stuff here and there. Haven't got anyone to say, yeah, I want to, play a couple chords for you yet. So working on it, I guess. You will be glorified. No news on that front. Do plan on going to Mosaic Church. I had a neat experience. It kind of ties further down, but I can talk about it now because I plan on going there. So I guess my daughter doesn't want to go. Her classmates, a couple of them go to that church, but I guess she's not up for it. So I guess I'll just go on a Sunday night sometime. I want to report that I did get reappointed as a carrier. So 2 weeks from now, my schedule will be back to a little crazier, but a lot better. The finances are just sucking wind. So custodian for me was not a good choice. Could be good for others, but and Travesh, congratulations to him too. He's 2 weeks after me, but man, getting on the right side of the money equation with this post office here. And the work too, it's like much better to carry mail than to clean. Now cleaning, you can have a little more downtime, a little less expectation on results, I suppose, but you're still anyway, people look for you a lot more in some ways. So I just want to report that because that does affect this stuff in terms of my availability to work on music. It will be reduced, but I'll be in a stronger, have a better mental state and be in a stronger financial position because this has been terrible since the beginning of the year. Okay. But in the end, God will be glorified and all will be fine. Okay, so YouTube channel, Instagram I could talk about. Nothing huge. Just this last one I did last week didn't do that good, but it was a little long and I didn't do that good of a job on it. Today's the one I just did. I think will probably do better. We'll see. I didn't sound like a tough guy or delivering those rhymes, but it's almost on purpose, I guess you could say. But I think it might be kind of considered humorous, so we'll see how it does. YouTube channel, so I did get with Will, and we got the last video done. So now I got to make a playlist and start promoting that. So when will that happen? I was hoping I'd have done it today, but it's not realistic. I'll get to it. Well, before I move on, let's talk about TikTok. So I was with J.E. and Sherwin from church. Well, J.E., he's there sometimes, occasionally, but he's the one who got me my YouTube channel. So who better to ask than what he thought about TikTok, and they both were weighed in on it. In the end, I see Sherwin quite often, so I think, and Sherwin, of course, is my violinist from my Reformation, and it's like no hurry, Jay's like, maybe you want to wait and see, let stuff settle down, and be in the past a little bit before you move on TikTok. I do want to go back to Sherwin and see what he has to say, because he was saying some of the Chinese companies are more aggressively, I suppose you could say, data mining than American companies, even though maybe we can say they all do it. And I just don't see what recourse you have if China gets your information. I mean, I just don't know how not that you could compete with the big boys here, but man, it's really out of your hands at that point. Rules of engagement. And that was part of our discussion. Like, why did I get blocked for a week? And he says sometimes it's kind of arbitrary, but it is what it is. So it hasn't happened since. I almost wonder if it's just a point system, but I don't know if they reset the points after you're blocked for a week, or they kind of, I don't know. It's really hard to say. Bellevue Ballers. So yeah, the fellow I saw from Mosaic, good man. He's doing ministry, but man, we're in the same mindset of connecting with people, reaching people, being bold, being proactive. And I loved it. So I'm going to be trying to get her, because that's the kind of people I need to be around. People that make me better. You feel like you're the only one doing anything half the time. Everyone's sitting still. You're running circles around them in so many ways, and all they want to do is just, I guess, work a job and watch Netflix or whatever, live for the weekend or whatever it is. So, no, he's doing ministry big, because when he was with, his name's Jacob at Mosaic, and he was with other staff members, I suspect. And he's the one approaching people, inviting them to Easter service, being bold. You could say it's a little over the top, but, it's like the people at that particular Starbucks were kind of oblivious to what's going on. They're just work thinking about making their drinks or whatever. And he is going up to all the people. It was pretty cool, man. It just pumped me up. I need that. I want to be around that. I could do ministry too. I could do whatever, it just got to be, I want to be in that mindset of being bold and being out there, like that. So yeah, I'll be hanging around him more, because I need to see that. I can be that. And I've done stuff like that with selling pizza or whatever I have to do to kind of put myself out there and get in the zone too. Once you get started, you can get yourself in the zone. So it's not a big deal once you're started on that. All right. So for merch, this still promoting some of these other youngsters. We got the Flexi Twins. One of the Flexi Twins had one. I was trying to get the other Flexi Twin on it, but she couldn't. She wouldn't do it. One of the Flexi Twins had a birthday, so that was nice. Happy birthday to Kamara. All right. Let's see. Trump's going to thump. So one thing I was going to say, so I guess they had this big deal about him, President Trump, getting arrested. And I was like, I guess my big stress point, whatever, is him having handcuffs on. And then it also made the mention of mugshot, that kind of stuff. If being arrested means you just show up to a court from a limo and walk out into the courtroom, if that's arrested, that works. It's just the optics, man. I just can't handle it. This stuff's so frustrating, because if being arrested is you come out of your limo and you walk into a courtroom, I mean, you're not in a jumpsuit and all this other business, and you're answering questions. It'd be like, that's all right for me, just as far as how I feel about it. It's like, all right, you're not like just making it so negative, because the whole thing's a total sham, right? I mean, process crimes. I don't know how these legal experts want to break stuff down like this. Obviously the media's got their agenda. There's nothing new. The hacks got their agenda, but I listen to Andy McCarthy. That's Russia's go-to guy oftentimes, and he was just talking about 34 counts. I mean, what did he say? He said like something about like when you go with all that. I don't know. He said something that typically in the legal world, that's not a good move. You got to pick the ones that you can really get. And you hear about overcharging, and by doing that, you don't get anything out of it. So who knows? Maybe the guy knows he has no case, so let me just make it so the media can run around and say there's 34 felony counts, and they just like how it sounds. So who knows? But I don't pay near as much attention as I used to, and I'm happy with that. I'm good with that. So I catch it on the fly a little bit. Complete songs I made lyrics for on YouTube. So got my man, he's away, he'll be back, but those aren't even these songs really. We're going to be making other songs, but realistically, I'll be up to 4 recorded songs, I believe, when all's said and done. And he wants to keep going after that, and I'll just put out an album. The mastering. I asked him about the mastering, and he's like, "Well, I can't. He's not really charging me too much, but that's gonna stop everything if I think I gotta pay a bunch of money to get it mastered. And again, I can't tell the difference." And Alaron was talking about it's more gritty, I suppose, if it's not mastered and cleaned up. I think part of that mastering is trying to get your sounds equalized, and probably to get it to sound good in different applications that you play it on your, I don't know about your computer, but your car stereo, your headphones. Probably those are a couple of the big ones, right? Your car stereo, your home stereo, your car stereo, your headphones, and have those working for you. So I suppose if that's a minimum standard for mastering, maybe I can financially swing that. We'll see. First, I gotta be able to have enough just to pay for the recording, which I think I'll have enough for that. But that's not even the whole album. That's just like, he's talking about $50 a song, I think. So, and helping with some other social media type stuff, and on DistroKid and all this stuff. Going back to that, what was I going to say? I can't remember. I was discussing with Jay and Sherwin about the Amazon tax or the royalty, and that's all good, but nobody knows how to. I guess I got to get a hold of CD Baby. I've already tried them. I really don't know. I am going to swing through Portland in a week or two. I don't know if I could get down by there. I'll have my wife with me. She won't be really excited, but I'll be going to Portland more, it looks like, maybe once a month potentially. So I'll try to go into their office. So if I say, all right, I sent a message, I didn't hear back, what are we doing? So that's always legit, and so, yeah, I would like to hear what's going on, So that would be kind of something, and that would be related to this. That's where that money's coming from that I never saw. And I did see my accountant, or, the person who does my taxes works for him at church, but I didn't ask him. So I should maybe. Not that he'll have anything to say, but I can always ask. All right. Well, I think I've covered enough for that. I can write some rhymes. Kind of like the tone here is a little lighter, kind of, why not? It's kind of funny. Like I said, let's see how this Instagram, it was terrible last week. So last week, 22 views. The week before was up to 117. The week before was, I don't know if that was a rhyme of the week or if that was just a unique thing. It was up at 50. So let's see how this does. It's the first one I did from this holier than thou Hillary and the Never Trumpers, and I put in hashtag Hillary, hashtag Never Trumpers, hashtag like cats meow and this kind of stuff. Holier than thou, hashtag holier than thou, and hashtag rhyme of the week. So we'll see. All right, so holier than thou, Hillary and the Never Trumpers, it's called. Holier than thou are we now. Don't have a cow because you ain't the cat's meow. Frustration for a situation beyond your control. Did what you had to do to roll the polls. We're dealing with career polls. I guess I'd say Pauls. I think that's how you pronounce that. Never lived outside their bubble. Once it got burst, they cursed. Unrehearsed with rage. First with disbelief. Good grief. All right. I'm just, I don't have a ton of energy. I'm just kind of talking about it. But, um, I think obviously I'm talking about, it's, people deal with this stuff differently. I don't know. I'm just going to make a couple verses on it. I think the ones that get me probably more than anyone are not the blatant never Trumpers. It's the closet. They're a little more closeted, cloaked, because they come off like I voted for president. So you have some guys who wouldn't even vote for him, right? There's others that have voted for him, liked his policy, but we're ready to move on. That's the kind of guys I'm kind of talking about, because they're little. Those are snakes in the grass, really. And you got Pence out there. So everyone's against this arrest. All the never Trumpers. I don't know about the never hardcore never Trumpers. They might be for it, but the ones that are, we like this policy. We're done with the circus. We like this policy. I've heard this a few times. We're done with the circus, or they're done with a few of his XYZs. They want to move on to whoever's next. What do we call them? Boring old, stuffed shirt politician. I mean, Mike Pence, really, is he going to be? I mean, and I've heard it's just a career booster to run for president, and it probably is, especially if you do well. So, nobody's going to get excited about Mike Pence. I mean, of course, the career politicians and all those types. I mean, he looks the part. It's great. Very well spoken, but Trump's. All the polls I've seen go Trump probably 45 to 60%. And then I suppose DeSantis could go up to 40% in some of them, but he's as low as 20% in a lot of them. And everyone else is just, you don't even see them, And what would change that, Because virtually everyone's a known. I suppose a lot of people don't know DeSantis, and they might, but the people that like Trump are going to stick with Trump, right? So who's DeSantis going to win over? Where's he going to get? Is he going to make the case? And is he going to, how's this going to go? I don't know. He doesn't have a choice. I don't think he has a choice but to run. Mike Pence probably doesn't have a choice but to run. So you just do it when the situation makes sense, but they don't have a shot. Anyway, nevertheless, I still got to make a song called Holier Than Thou, Hillary and the Never Trumpers, because they just convinced, all of these things. Again, the general election, will he be legit? I mean, this whole thing in Arizona, right? So that's the most interesting thing to pay any attention to in my mind, to see if we're going to have any progress towards what could happen in the general election. If they can do something about the governor's race in Arizona between now, I mean, these things take so long. I mean, would it really happen in the next 2 years? Something could happen. It's a state. It's not federal. A state you should have a better shot. So anyway, all right. So so if I say once it got burst, they cursed, unrehearsed with rage, first with disbelief, good grief. Yeah. Okay, well, so I think part of it is the first statement, and you got to go back to John McCain saying the crazies, calling Trump supporters the crazies. That was the very first strike, of the Never Trump. The original Never Trump strike was calling the Trump supporters the crazies. That's crazy to say that, man. Whew, so that kind of set the stage for what was to come. And Trump said, he's don't like soldiers that get captured. That was nuts too to say that. That was a pretty big deal, but uh, and it was on from there. That's for sure. I don't know what was happening before that. I can't remember anything big like that though. It never stopped. So, yeah, because who was I? I think Glenn Beck was talking about that, where Trump, he's Mr. Rich guy, but he's Mr. Everyday guy, which is unheard of. No super rich guy should be that relatable to the average person, but people do relate to him a lot. I mean, this Fetterman, for all his problems, I've heard a lot. He does seem like an everyday guy over there in Pennsylvania, for sure. Even though I guess he was a son of a very wealthy person, but he looks like some football player that's just coming out of nowhere to be a politician. But no, he played the role real good. Got the beard, and I think he runs around in like casual clothes or something. So it was working for him. All right. Once it got burst, they curse. Unrehearsed with rage. First with disbelief, good grief. He was counting the days. Counting his days. Still days that he ain't. That. Still days that he ain't went away. Amazed that the crazed listen to him and not y'all. Don't you know that pride comes before the fall? Whether it be here. Gosh. Oh, man. Oh, gosh, my spelling seems off. Weather. Ooh, it looks so wrong. I know it's not spelled like the weather forecast, but this doesn't look right at all, but I guess it is. Whether it be here or the hereafter. Christ said he was that he's humble. Could the same be said for you? And that's a pretty good way to end the verse, wouldn't you say? Let's try it. Holier than thou are we now. Don't have a cow because you ain't the cat's meow. Frustration for a situation beyond your control. Did what you had to do to roll the polls. We're dealing with career Pauls. Never lived outside the bubble. Once it got burst, they cursed. Unrehearsed with rage. First with disbelief, good grief. He was counting the days. Counting the days, I guess. Still days that he ain't went away. Amazed that crazed. Listen to him and not y'all. Not amazed at the crazed. Listen to him and not y'all. Don't you know that pride comes before the fall, whether it be here or the hereafter? Christ said that he's humble. Could the same be said for you? Holier than thou. And so now I got to have a hook, I guess. Could the same be said for you? Did I have a hook and I forgot it? Maybe I can speak from their perspective if I say, don't you know we so holy? We so holy. Cling to our every word. You're listening to Trump. That's absurd. Don't you know we so holy? Cling to our every word. Listening to Trump, that's absurd. So, don't you know we so holy? Cling to our every word. You're listening to Trump, that's absurd. Don't you know we so holy? Cling to our every word. You're listening to Trump, that's absurd. What a song. You like that for a song? That's different, isn't it? I might go time. Let me try it times 2 versus times 4. Don't you know we so holy? Cling to our every word. You listening to Trump? That's absurd. Don't you know we so holy? Cling to our every word. You listening to Trump? That's absurd. Don't you know we so holy? Cling to our every word. You listening to Trump? That's absurd. Don't you know we so holy? Cling to our every word. You listening to Trump? That's absurd. Yeah, times 4 works. Lengthen out the song, right? I think that'll be a nice way to finish for the day. We're going to have verse 1 done. I can break it out next week. Of course, I'll take a rhyme that I had come out in this and put it on Instagram. That's Mike _dynamic. Instagram. You could check that out for the rhyme of the week, y'all. Till then, I will see you on Back to the Rhyme.